The title of this book, The Spiritual Man, we are in great part 5 of this book. This book is written by our beloved brother, Watchman Nee. We are in chapter 2 of this great part 5. The title of chapter 2, Communion. Chapter 2 of this great part 5, Communion. Chapter 2, subpart 2. How then do we know? How then do we know? Verse 11 tell us, man knew by his spirit. The Holy Spirit unfold to our spirit what he knew intuitively, so that we too may know intuitively. When the Holy Spirit discloses the matter pertaining to God, he does so not to our mind, nor to any other organ, but to our spirit. God knew this is the sole place in man which can apprehend men's things as well as his things. The mind is not the place for knowing these things. While it is true that the mind can think and conceive many matters, it nonetheless cannot know them. From this, we can appreciate how highly God esteemed the regenerated spirit of man. Before new birth, man's spirit was dead. God had no way of unfolding his mind to such a man. Cleverless brain fall to know the mind of God. But God's fellowship with man, man's worship to God, are contingent upon the regenerated spirit of man. Without this revitalized component, God and man are hopelessly separated. Neither can come or go to the other. The first step toward communion between God and man must be this quickening of man's spirit. Because men enjoy a free will, he has authority to decide his own matters. That explains why he continues to encounter many temptations following new birth. Due to his foolishness, or perhaps his prejudice, he may not yield the rightful position to his spirit and its intuition. God accepts this spirit as the one place where he will commune with man and man with him. But the believer still walk by his mind or emotion. How many times he completely ignores the voice of intuition. His principle of living is to adhere to what he himself considers reasonable, beautiful, delightful, or interesting. Even should he have a heart to do God's will, he usually will take either his impulsive idea or his more logical thought as the mind of God, not realizing that what he ought to follow is the thought expressed by the Holy Spirit in his intuition. He sometimes may be willing to hear the voice of intuition, but failing to keep his feeling quiet. He finds that voice blurred and confused. Walking after the Spirit consequently become an occasional affair instead of forming a daily continuous experience in the Christian life. If the initial knowing of God's will is so difficult, who can wonder at the lack of further and more profound revelation? How then can we ever truly know in our spirit God's plan for the end of this age? The reality of spiritual warfare and the deeper truth of the Bible. For our worship merely correspond to what we think is best or what we feel on the spur of the moment. And to commune with the Lord in our intuition naturally become an inherit of phenomenon. A believer must recognize that the Holy Spirit alone comprehends the things of God, and that intuitively. He is the one person who can convey this knowledge to men, but for anyone to obtain such knowledge, he must appropriate it through the proper means. Namely, he must receive with his intuition what the Holy Spirit intuitively knows. The conjunction of these two intuitions enable men to apprehend the mind of God. And we impart this in word, not taught by human wisdom, but taught by the Spirit, interpreting spiritual truth to those who possess the Spirit. God, 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 13. How are we going to impart to others the things of God which we have discerned in our spirit's intuition? Having come, knew the reality of God, our responsibility now is to proclaim them. The Apostle Paul declared he does not transmit them in terms taught by human wisdom. That wisdom belongs to a man's mind and is the product of man's brain. Paul categorically asserts that he does not employ the word which comes from the mind to communicate what his spirit knew concerning the things of God. Paul in himself possesses great wisdom. He is perfectly able to formulate many new and wonderful phrases and to deliver his message eloquently with good organization and illustrative parable. He knew how to make his audience understand what he means to say. He, nevertheless, refuses to use the terminology taught by human wisdom. This declaration and attitude of the Apostle Paul indicate that man's mind is not only useless in knowing the things of God, but is also secondary in imparting spiritual knowledge. The apostle articulates God's reality in phraseology taught by the Spirit. In his intuition, he received his instruction. Nothing in the life of a Christian is of any value save that which is in his spirit. Even in relating spiritual knowledge, he needs to employ spiritual word. Intuition appropriate not only the things which the Holy Spirit unfold, but also the word taught by the same Spirit, in order to explain to others what has been revealed. How often a believer tries to impart to others what has been revealed so clearly to him by God, yet try as he may, he finds no word to convey the fundamental meaning of what has been disclosed. Why? Because he has not received word in his spirit. At other times, as he wait before the Lord, believer sense something rising in the center of his being, perhaps but a few words. With those few words, however, he is able to communicate it adequately at emitting what has been revealed to him. He comes to realize how God actually used him to testify for the Lord. Such experience attests the importance of the utterance given by the Holy Spirit. There are two kinds of utterance, natural and spirit-given. The type of utterance recorded in Acts chapter 2, verse 4 is indispensable in spiritual service. However eloquent our natural utterance, it will remain powerless to truly communicate things of God. We may view ourselves as having spoken quite well, yet we have not succeeded in expressing the thought of the Holy Spirit. Spiritual word, that is, terminology received in the Spirit, can alone articulate spiritual knowledge. If we are burdened with the message of the Lord in our spirit, as thought a fire were burning within, and yet have not the means to discharge that burning, we should wait for the utterance to be given by the Spirit, so that we may proclaim the message of our spirit and discharge that burden. Should we inadvertently employ language taught by human wisdom instead of waiting for the word bestowed intuitively by the Holy Spirit, we shall find our spiritual effectiveness comes to naught. Speech merely grounded in earthly wisdom can only move people to say that theory events is indeed good. Sometimes we enjoy many spiritual experiences, but we are at a loss how to articulate them until other believers and look them with a word. This is because until the moment we hear other uttering, our experience is simple term. We still had not received in our spirit explicit word from the Lord. Spiritual truth must be explained with spiritual phrases. We must employ spiritual means to reach spiritual end. This is what the Lord specially wishes to teach us today. Spiritual goal needs to be perfected through corresponding spiritual processes. The fleshly as fleshly will never become spiritual. If we hope to arrive at our spiritual objective with our mind and emotion, we as it were are expecting sweat water to pour forth from fountain of bitter water. All matter pertaining to God, such as seeking His will, obeying His commandment, proclaiming His message, are effective only if they arise out of fellowship with God in the Spirit. Whenever it's performed through our thought, talent, or method, is accounted by God as death. The solical and the spiritual. The solical and the spiritual. In spiritual or in God original solical, man does not receive the gift of the Spirit of God, for they are folly to him, and he is not able to understand them because they are spiritually discerned. The solical are those who have not yet been born anew and who hence do not possess a new spirit. Since their intuitive faculty is dead to God, all which they have are the faculty of the soul. They are well able to decide what they like through reason and affection, but not having a regenerated spirit, they are powerless to receive the things of the Spirit of God. Although these individuals can think and observe, they still lack basic intuitive power. They cannot take in what God revealed exclusively to man's spirit. How utterly inadequate are the natural endowment of man. He truly has much, but nothing can substitute for the operation of intuition. Because man is dead to God, no organ exists in him by which he can take in things of God. Nothing in historical man is capable of communing with him.